Most files come under a rule that means the government can keep them out of the public domain for a period of between 30 and 100 years, depending on the document's sensitivity. For this reason, the majority of the files end in the 1960s. There is, however, one remarkable exception to this rule. The file on the Rendlesham Forest case of 1980 was released after information on the incident leaked, and the story became too great for the Ministry of Defence to contain.
In the summer of 1980, I was assigned to RAF Bentwaters Woodbridge, the twin base complex in East Suffolk, England, as the deputy base commander. On the morning of December 26th, I stopped by the police operations center and talked to the desk sergeant, and when I walked in, the desk sergeant started to laugh and told me I wouldn't believe what had happened the night before. I said, "Try me," or something to that effect. And he said 3 of the young security policemen had been out in the woods chasing a UFO all night, and we kind of had a snicker. There had to be some explanation for this, and we really didn't think that awful much about it at that time.
2 nights later, the head of base security rushed into Holt's office with an ashen look on his face.
And he said, "It's back." And we all looked at each other. "What's back?" He said, "The UFO is back." And we stood there rather puzzled. So I said, "Well, I'll go." And I went home and changed clothes and put a utility uniform on and got my tape recorder, contacted disaster preparedness and had the on-call officer come with us. And we went out into the forest with a security policeman. The whole time I was using my small microcassette recorder and recording. Now I turned it off and on because I only had 20 to 25 minutes worth of tape on it.
150 feet or more from the suspected impact point.
This is the actual audio recording that Holt made in the forest on the night.
We found a small blast, what looks like a blasted or scruffed up area here. We got very positive readings.
It was eerie, quiet. And at one point, all the farmers' animals, the pigs, the cows, and chickens and everything, were all acting up, making an awful lot of noise, as though they were being disturbed or frightened.
We're hearing very strange sounds out of the farmers' barnyard animals. They're very, very active, making an awful lot of noise.
As we were making notes and looking at things there, the lieutenant suddenly looked out and saw something in the sky, out in front of us.
You just saw a light where? Wait a minute, slow down. Where?
Right in this position here, straight ahead, in between the tree. There it is again. Watch, straight ahead off my flash right there. Sir. There it is.
Hey, I see it too. What is it?
We don't know, sir.
So, can I get some of it? Yeah, it's a strange, small red light. Looks beyond maybe a quarter to half mile, maybe further out.
As we watched it, it appeared like an eye. It was oval, and it blinked. It had a black center.
Okay, we're looking at the thing. We're probably about 200 to 300 yards away. It looks like an eye winking at you. It's still moving from side to side. You know, like a pupil of an eye looking at you and winking.
Something like a burning, molten metal was dripping off the object.
Pieces were falling off it again.
And it just moved to the right.
Yeah.
Off to the right.
Strange. We're about 150 or 200 yards from the site. Everything else is just deathly calm. There is no doubt about it. There's some type of strange flashing red light ahead. Weird. It appears to be maybe moving a little bit this way. Yes, it's brighter than it has been. It's coming this way. It is definitely coming this way.
We watched it probably for maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes. Suddenly the object very silently exploded and broke into small white objects, and they immediately disappeared.
Pieces of it are shooting off. There is no doubt about it. This is weird. Keep the flashlights off. Here's something very, very strange. Let's approach to the edge of the woods up there. Can you undo without lights? Let's do it carefully. Come on.
The object to the south came toward us at a very high speed, stopped, and was sending down beams that I would say now, I didn't know at the time, something like a laser beam.
Hey, here he comes from the south. He's coming toward us now. Now we're observing what appears to be a beam coming down to the ground. This is unreal.
A continuous beam. It did not get larger as it radiated forth. One of the beams landed almost immediately at our feet, caused us great concern. We didn't know whether it was trying to warn us, whether it was shooting something at us, or trying to signal or communicate with us. It stayed on for, I can't say, maybe 5-10 seconds, and just as abruptly as it came, it disappeared.
330, or 0330, and the objects are still in the sky, although the one to the south looks like it's losing a little bit of altitude. We're turning around and heading back toward the base.
After returning to base, Holt immediately wrote a report on the strange events in the forest. Forwarding it to his superiors, he expected a full investigation into what he had witnessed to follow.
The significant document in the whole of the Rendlesham file has to be the first document in the file, which was the memorandum sent to the Ministry of Defence by Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt.
With regard to the Rendlesham Forest case, I think the way in which the information came out, yes, to some people it probably looked a bit suspicious.
I mean, it's a very important document, and the Ministry of Defence denied that they had this document.
Colonel Holt's famous memorandum was actually released not in Britain, but actually under the American Freedom of Information Act. So that looked a bit odd.
When the incident happened, the Ministry of Defence denied that there was such an incident. They also denied that they had any file on the case.
I think the problem here is not conspiracy, it's bureaucracy. You see, the division responsible for handling UFO investigations has constantly changed over the years, and the ministry is always having reorganisations, and some of the files, for a time, became lost.
In reality, the ministry held a file that contained hundreds of documents, but the powers that be came to the conclusion that the incident was of no defence significance. But some leading military figures do not accept this.
There are only two conceivable explanations for what happened. Either a UFO landed there, causing the damage and collateral business which I have already mentioned, or the deputy commander of a United States nuclear-armed air base in Britain and several hundred of his men were hallucinating. Now, I put it to you, I put it to anybody with an atom of common sense. Either of those explanations, and they are the only two possible explanations, must be of defence interest. Don't tell me otherwise.
Having consistently denied ever investigating UFOs, to date almost 10,000 government files have been made available to the public out of an estimated 250,000.
What we've actually seen in terms of the reports released to the Public Record Office, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
There are UFO files that have not yet been released, but you shouldn't read anything into that. It's not as if these are being deliberately held back.
Since 1947, information about UFOs has been classified at various levels. Confidential, secret, top secret. What is not recognized is that the findings about UFOs have been classified at an above top secret level. And unless you have access to that compartment, you will not find out what's going on.
I haven't any doubt that there is a deliberate cover-up, and I'm not sure quite who is responsible.
Sightings of UFOs continue, and the government continues to deny carrying out investigations into them.
These sightings, the best of the best, will simply remain on the file. Object unexplained, case